Well, welcome back to another edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse. I picked up this book. It was on Facebook. It is supposedly about show world and someone who worked in the live sex shows in show world. There's the back of it too. The author's name is Deuce 42. Okay, so let me recap what I learned, because I thought I was going to pick up on something I didn't know about, and I'm thinking this book was probably, oh God, I'm guessing this guy, Deuce 42, was there in the mid-80s. He was a live sex show performer. He started as a cashier at Show Follies. It seems that somebody didn't show up one night, and all of a sudden he became a live sex show performer. And according to him, to be a live sex show performer, you had to perform 8 shows a day, which meant that basically you had to, for lack of better words, come every 40 minutes, or be able to come every 40 minutes, because you worked 8 shows. This guy was I think he said his nationality was Filipino American or whatever, so he sort of blended in with the crew. This was probably the decline of the whole block starting then, because what he's talking about employees dealing drugs, and how he worked his way around the loop, because Show World was the flagship. Show Follies and some other ones, Les Gals and things like that, followed suit under the Show World umbrella, because it was all mob. And basically the admission to any of these places was $1, where you got 4 hexagonal tokens that you could use in the peep booths. And the reason for this was they got tired of junkies breaking in the booths and wrecking the booths trying to get quarters out. So that's how they alleviated that. Basically, like I said, it was $1 to get in. You got 4 tokens. Whether you spent them or not was up to you. It seems this guy was one of the booth guys. I guess they had, I remember, he said he started at the Follies. Then he went to the flagship, which was Show World. And when he started talking about Show World, he mentioned that there was transgendered women in some of the peeps. So that would sort of put it at the mid-80s, because I think everybody at that point was embracing the transgendered phenomenon. And Show World had a basement little part called TV City. So that's how that worked. It basically followed this guy's trials and tribulations, because he was known as, Aries or something like that. Everybody had a fake name. It seemed that he fell in love with one of the girls he was paired with, this girl Fury, and she was basically banging everybody around him too. Number one, you don't get involved with a girl like that. I mean, like I said, in my book, I got involved with 2 working girls, but that was a whole different ball game. This guy also did a plethora of drugs and a lot of coke, and they were saying things that were going on there, and basically the places were falling into disrepair, as he described them, because the employees were dealing and using drugs, the performers were using drugs, girls would go out and not show up again, things like that. I remember that stuff. I do remember it was getting, I stopped being a regular in the early 80s, but we go back, and it was different. It was more scuzzy, more unkempt, but we were there for shits and giggles. For the record, I never jerked off in a peep booth. I went to peep booths to look at weird shit and get warmed up and go find a hooker or go to the dating room, massage parlor, whatever. So that's what I did. And then when I was married and shit like that, a bunch of us would get together on one night a week and just go over to Sleaze Out, not have sex with anybody because we were all married, but just, fuck around, window shop, whatever, break balls, have a few drinks, smoke some weed. But like I said, that was when things started to decline. I think the powers that be, meaning the mob, realized it wasn't worth sinking any more money into these places, because eventually they were all going to get shut down anyway, which did happen. He described the whole thing, and I remember, the booth girls, and the thing was, what he left out was that in the show world thing with the girls between the platforms when they were giving out the silver dollar, it was a silver dollar for like a minute where this chick would basically try to talk the customer into whipping it out and jacking off while, she did things. That was a dial-a-doll thing. That was showcased in the film Hardcore with George C. Scott and Susan Hubley as a booth girl. So you saw a lot of weird shit like that. I'm not saying this is a bad book if you just want to read about somebody's sexual adventures and drug use and stuff like that. Honestly, I don't see historical context in there, and it didn't tell me anything I didn't know other than, places were getting run down and shitty, and, eventually they all shut down. He also mentioned Les Gals. Les Gals was weird. It was on 42nd Street, but it was way past everything else across Broadway and 7th Avenue. It started up there. It was another big 3-floor porn emporium. I think that's where actually somebody tried to get into the booth where I was in, and I back kicked the door and hit the guy in the face and broke his nose. And I just wanted to see what you were. Yeah, you wanted to see what. So that was one other weird occurrence that happened in there. But like I said, these places were all getting pretty scuzzy and bad at that time. And like I said, as we closed in on the 90s, one by one they were closing. A lot of them were fucking closed by the early 90s. Show World sort of stayed there, but then it was moved down the block. What's there now is, if you read my Two-Fisted Tales of Times Square book, there's a hamburger joint called Smash Burger there. And I don't know. I don't think I'd want to eat a fucking hamburger on the site of Show World. Let's put it that way. So, I mean, you can get this off of Lulu. I think I paid almost $29 for this thing. It's got an endorsement. Deuce 42 is the Pope of Show World. Peep Man is a mind-blowing, quintessential account of an iconic sex emporium. He did all the things you weren't supposed to do back in the day and got away with it and survived intact. Vanessa Del Rio. Well, actually, a lot of us got away with a lot of shit. Whether he survived intact is beyond me. But anyway, like I said, if you want to read his journey through the whole thing and all his sexual exploits and drug use and stuff like that, it's okay. I'm not putting it down. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I read it fast, and I was, like I said, didn't learn hardly anything that I didn't already know. So, like I said, it's an interesting read if you're into the, the whole underbelly of the whole thing. Another thing I got to say is we've passed the Black Friday shit, and these boutique DVD companies, or Blu-ray companies, or whatever the fuck they call them now, these sales were not fucking sales. They basically marked up the suggested retail price and went off a half of that. Most of this stuff that they sell, because I'll go with Severin, they had a box set sale for half off. The Milligan box set they wanted $100 for, and it's $89 in Edgar R. Hamilton bookseller. They didn't have any deals on the Emmanuel box set, which I might have been interested in at half price. It was basically all the shit that they're stuck with. And they're stuck with a lot of shit because a lot of it, plain English, is shit. So that was one sale. As far as the other ones, nobody had anything good. It was, you're basically, somebody even said on Facebook, $45 isn't a sale. And they're right. And like I said, just sit tight, my friends. Every once in a while, check out the website, Edgar R. Hamilton Bookseller, and go on the Blu-rays, and you'll find stuff cheaper than these fucking companies sell it for. I mean, I'll just give you an example. Blue Underground must have lost the rights to City of the Living Dead, and they were closing out those Blu-rays for $5 a piece. So there's a little example. Something else just happened to me. We're battling with the eBay shit again because, you can't sell adults-only stuff up there. So there's 89 listings for Screw Magazine up there. I put 2 listings up there, and I got thrown off immediately, and I called them up, and I said, okay, now I'm pissed. There's 89 listings. Why was mine singled out? It wasn't in the right place. What do you mean it wasn't in the right place? I copied the other guy's listing. So basically, they weren't going to fucking bend, and I said, you know something? Maybe I should just pull off of eBay and cancel the account. You know what they said? Go ahead. They don't give a fuck. Corporate mentality. They don't need the little guy, crush the little guy into dirt. So, being that I have a shitload of Screw magazines, and it'd be a shame for me to kick the bucket and have them thrown into a fucking dumpster, which would probably happen, I'm going to make this offer here. And this is just a sample. You're not going to get this one. But if anybody wants a copy of this iconic newspaper, it's simple. I'll sell them for 15 bucks a piece shipped. You know, they're not going to be on the website, but it's the same PayPal address, Mr. 42nd Street Pete at yahoo.com. And if you want to own a piece of history, and I got a lot of histories here, I will let you have them at 15 bucks a piece, or if you want two different for 25. I think that's pretty fair, and I don't think you're going to be able to get them anywhere else, and that's a lot cheaper than they're selling them on eBay for. But like I say, I'd rather these fall into the right hands and with somebody who appreciates them, because there'll never be anything like this again, and it's another piece of history that's being swept under the rug and lost. So if you're interested, you know where to find me. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. You know, check out Peep Man if you're so inclined. I believe it's on Lulu. And one of the other reasons I picked it up was because somebody told me there was some explicit photos in the back. Well, not really. I mean, this is about explicit as it gets. Some shots of show world in the surrounding area. There's no nudity or anything like that. So I was sort of hoping there was, because then maybe I could deal with Lulu with some of my stuff. But like I said, it's getting harder and harder to get a product out there with the puritanical attitudes of America right now. So my friends, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.